Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a very, very special episode of the Soldiers of Cinema podcast. I am Colin McFader, your usual host, along with Clark Coffey, but in a special context. And one of the reasons this is a special episode is that Clark is actually up here in Toronto with me. How are you doing? How are you enjoying?
How am I doing? How am I doing? How am I enjoying? I mean, dude, it's great. I'm up here in Toronto for the week. My wife has some work up here, and so I'm tagging along. And you and I are getting to hang out for a few days, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
We went to, what was the theater that we went to?
The Fox Theater. Yeah.
We went to, so Colin took me to the Fox Theater. For those of you in Toronto, you may be familiar with that theater. And for those of you who are Canadian, you might be familiar with the film that we saw there, which was apparently the famous, I don't know, infamous, I don't know how you want to call it, DIY film Things. Mm-hmm. So when Colin took me to the theater, I had no idea what I was in for. I didn't look up the film. I had no idea what this thing was. I had literally no inkling. And so we go into this nice theater and sit down. And first, they screened this cartoon, which was actually, we're going to talk about it.
NFB, National Film Board.
Okay, I thought it was a joke. I actually thought this was like a parody, or kind of like a little short film that somebody had recently put together, kind of like lovingly, maybe satirizing some aspects of Canadian culture. But in fact, it's actually a super well-known, famous, like, we call them PSAs here in the United States, but this short film about, what do you call these?
Lumberjacks. They were the loggers. They weren't quite lumberjacks.
They were the guys who like roll on the logs.
Yeah,
like,
they bring the logs down the rivers.
So that opened things up, and then we went into the film proper, and wow. It was an entirely unique experience for me. Was this like 89 or something, right? This is
made
in
so
like
Things
89.
was 89. I think the logging that
it's from like the 70s or even 60s. I mean, that's old. Yeah, that's old. So I didn't even, I thought, I didn't even know what era the film was going to be in or anything. And so it was like a zero budget horror film. Totally, like, I mean, I don't even call this indie. I call this homemade. Like, this is like, three or four guys in
their grandmother's basement,
home,
I think, or someone's
their
basement.
grandmother's, and just wow,
And some members of the cast were there. It was very exciting.
Yep, some members of the cast, and it was actually really fun. It was actually super, super fun, and strangely inspiring. Actually, believe it or not. But we could talk about some of that another time. But yeah, so in the interview or the discussion that you're about to hear, we actually did that. And Colin, you can kind of fill in where we were and who we were talking to give some context to our listeners when we go into the interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, again, it's special because this is also the first time that we are doing an in-person episode together.
Right.
Right. In case you might not know this as a listener, but we actually always record separately. Clark's down in California. I'm up here in Toronto, so this is the first episode we've ever done live together
in person.
And also, so we've got we're here at the Eyesore. We're going to be in the screening room, and that is a very special place. I think a lot of people in the Toronto kind of film scene know it. Eyesore Cinemas. You can buy, rent. It's kind of like one of the last vestiges of rental stores.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. I mean, they've got, obviously they were kind enough to give us the space to record our podcast there, but just, I mean, walking into the store, it's it kind of, it reminds me of, it had that flavor of like those really fantastic like mom and pop music stores that used to exist, a long time ago, and of course, but with movies. And I mean, there was a great collection, everything from like VHS to UHD, and like a really well curated and like pretty like interesting selection of films for sure.
Yeah. And last big reason that this is an exciting episode is because we've got two guests, Mike Wood from They Might Be Movies, sorry. Mike is a good friend of mine who does pop-up screenings all around the city. If you follow him on Instagram or Facebook, you'll definitely see that he has quite the schedule going, and always something unexpected. For example, this year at TIFF, he did Too Fast, Too Furious on the side of a Midas like auto body repair shop during the whole TIFF festivities downtown, which was really fun.
That's awesome.
He screened films from friends of mine. So really fantastic kind of indie screenings there. And of course, our second guest is Adam Thorn of Terrible Fest and Riot at the Movies. Adam is kind of a fan of like grunge punk cinema in a lot of ways.
That's a good way to put it. Like
he
like
might
DIY.
abhor the word cinema being in there, but
we talked about that a little.
This sort of very underground, again, DIY. Terrible Fest is a festival that kind of celebrates movies that would not be seen at other festivals, and it's a lot of fun. He screened a movie of mine a few months ago, which was great. Not at Terrible Fest, at a different festival of his, but
You're so fast to
he said
point that
mine
out.
didn't fit into Terrible Fest, so I'll take that as a compliment. But no, and it's a really exciting interview. I think great conversation.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast, and we're going to dive right in. But I just do want to say, it was so fun to have this conversation and to discuss these kind of films and to kind of talk about cinema from this different angle, because if you look back at all of our previous episodes, we're talking about, for the most part, totally studio feature films, or at least like major cinema works. And this is like such the opposite end of the spectrum there. And it was really fun to explore this totally other aspect of cinema. And I enjoyed it. I think, Cullen, you and I both had a blast, and we had a lively conversation. And for everybody listening, I hope you enjoy too.
Yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it.
We've come to Eyesore to get the soul of independent underground cinema of Toronto. Speaking of which,
I'm sure we could have found better people. But,
yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a question. We'll make this a little bit like Johnny Carson, I guess. So you guys, there's a lot of like the Venn diagram of what you two do is there's
Venn
some
diagram.
crossover, but there's also some very big differences. And Clark and I always like to start whenever we do a movie. We kind of talk about our personal experiences with that movie, and of course, we can't really do that specifically here. But I am always curious for people in this world. Like what sparked it for you? What started it? What was the
Started what? Their
started
love of
your
cinema,
your
or-
love of, well, even just the desire to do like Terrible Fest or to curate all these different movies and kind of go that, because you both sort of have this like championing of underground and underdog movies, a lot of movies that might not get a lot of attention elsewhere. And I think that that's very important, and it feels really good as a filmmaker to have that sort of space to be able to do that. But Mike, why don't we start with you? What kind of brought you into that world?
For sure. Actually, I'm glad we're starting with me because my story is more heartfelt.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Perfect.
Adam's will probably be more entertaining.
Cue music.
Yeah. But actually, for me, it was my parents. They're both art teachers and like just various mediums of like the photographical nature, and my dad still teaches photo. My mom's semi-retired, but they were always showing me a wide variety of things and didn't really seem to care like that I'm 7. Like obviously, like if something was too extreme, they're not going to show it to me. But I remember them taking me to a lot of stuff of a wide variety of mediums, but also a lot of experimental things and things that played at the AGO here, and they could also book out a 16 mil projector from like not their respective schools. I think my dad could sometimes book one out from the art college that he still teaches at, but there was one central library where you could go if you had an educational card to book out a 16 mil projector and any 16 mil movie that the city had in their archives.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was this
That's so cool.
incredibly documented catalog of like animated shorts, educational films, some feature films, some like one reel only of a feature film. And we would sign out a projector, sign out just a massive gamut of stuff and project them on our like living room wall at home. Or sometimes bring them outside and maybe bring them on a crash cart just down the street a bit or to a park or something like that and invite other neighborhood kids to come watch too.
Okay.
And I thought that was like a really fun ethos, just that sort of like mobile drive-in kind of vibe.
So, Mike, let me interrupt on this one because I have to ask the concept of saying, as a Canadian, do you did you grow up hating or did you grow up loving? There's two types of Canadian kids.
Okay.
One loved when in the middle of a show on well, maybe even other channels in CBC, but when that Film Board of Canada little guy like turns into an eye when he turned on, he showed up on the screen. You knew this was going to be like an animated short funded by the government.
Yeah.
As a child, I was immediately like, "Where's the remote? Change it, get that way. I don't want to see this."
Oh, not me. I think I did.
I knew it. I knew you'd love it.
Like for me, it was just like, there's content. Oh my God, content.
Something
now,
to watch.
But we saw way more movies either in theaters or taking them out of this like film library than TV, because we only had so almost everything was Canadian because we only had TV with like an antenna. And didn't get cable till I was in like grade 4 or something like that. So we only got like the local channels.
I had that with my mom's, the bunny ears.
Yeah, that's it.
Clark, for context, the movie that you saw last night, that little short film at the beginning, that was the NFB, National Film Board of Canada.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So obviously our listeners didn't go to that with us. But so last night, just to give a little context here, real quick, before we dive back into the story here, but Cullen took me to, it was the Fox Theater, correct?
Yeah.
And we saw the 1989 movie Things. Or is it Things? Or just Things? Or The Things? Okay, just Things.
You didn't just see it. You had
I had
experienced it.
As it says in the credits.
No, I had experienced it. And I had no idea what I was getting into. But yes, before that film, there was the little animated short about people walking around on logs.
Yeah.
And what wonderful partners they make for ladies who like to dance or something like that.
That is the Film Board of Canada cartoon. Like there's thousands of them. But
now, are you being serious or because you got
the log roller one is the one. Like if any kid that would appear, I think a lot of Canadian channels back when the channel would turn off at the end of the night.
Okay,
that would play, and then the Canadian national anthem would play, and then it would end. Like
so, that's real.
Yeah, that was like the end of your broadcast day.
So I thought that was like a parody of something, or like just some surreal, like short animated thing that somebody put together. But this is actually part of your childhood. So, like, this is a legit
I think the two
thing.
very distinct, like Canadian childhood memories that I have are the NFB animated shorts and the really, really bizarre PSAs that we get here. Like, there's like a whole genre of Canadian PSAs about like, trusting what you see on television, about like getting enough exercise and all that. And they were all done in these very bizarre, like I almost want to say, like it feels like something out of Brazil. Like it's a really bizarre
like
Terry
alternate
Gilliam
universe
style.
kind of.
And so you
Out of Brazil, the movie, not out of Brazil, the country.
No, yeah, not the country.
I was trying to put that together there for a second.
But no, there's so there's this really, really bizarre niche of stuff that, like, of course, as an American, you would have no idea exists. And even a lot of younger kids, they just don't play them anymore.
Yeah.
So when I taught film classes, I used to, when we would show each, we would split them into groups and they would make a movie over 10 weeks or something, and they make 5 different movies in the class. And between each movie, I'd always stick these PSAs because I was like, these kids don't know what these are. So I'd throw them in and they'd be all very, very confused as to why I was showing them this like French singing song as the kid chases the ice cream truck. And then it's like, that's why you got to get exercise. And I was like, guys, this is very important to me.
The ultimate hero to all of Canada is Astar. And depending on your generation, it is 2 different versions, even though the PSA is exactly word for, well, I think maybe one word for some reason has changed. But Clark, are you familiar with Astar?
I am not.
Okay,
because
Astar has broken himself into the internet, but so a lot of people, non-Canadians, know him, or they. Astar is a robot. Astar had one commercial for safety.
Okay.
And the original one is this beautiful and like amazingly expensive. It was definitely during a time period where the government was giving out grants to make films if you could make it for PSA. So they were going to take as much money as they could take. Astar is a robot that lives on planet Danger, and they can do backflips and they can fly around, but everything on the planet is a buzzsaw or a knife. And at one point they cut their own arm off.
Oh, no.
And then they turn to the camera and say, I'm Astar from Planet Danger. I can put my arm back on. You can't. So play safe, kids. And this is a message from the Board of Canada for kids to not play in dangerous places.
Concerned children's advertisers.
I'm going to have to go take a look at that.
Oh, I'll send you a reel.
That was the surviving edged weapons of Canadian PSAs.
Yeah. But then jump ahead 20 years from the original one. I believe, and I may not be exact, but I think it's the same graphics group that did cartoons like Reboot and Beast Wars and stuff like that, because they were, I think, a Montreal and Toronto based animation group, and they did a remake of it, probably because it was another excuse to get government funding. But they were like, well, you can't just do the same thing. You have, if you were going to pay you have to make something. So they had it all in CGI. And the voice is slightly different, but it's pretty on the nose. So when I speak to younger kids about it, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then I'll show the original and they're like, wait a minute, why does he look like the Predator now? What is going on? And I'm like, yeah, it was live action originally. It wasn't a cartoon. And they're like, it's so scary.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare for us at the time too.
Was it the same group that did the Stay Alert, Stay Safe? Those like bunny rabbits that were always
if not,
stranger danger.
like
probably adjacent.
Gert and Bert, they were the two cartoon bunnies that were like, don't go walk home in an alleyway, you'll get attacked by an old man or something. Weird things like that. They always feel like the end of G.I. Joe, where it's like, it was just like a random pointless message, like, don't drink things you find under the sink, kids.
Don't drink things off of the ground of a strange movie theater in the back room that have been spilled several times, both on yourself and the floor. That I think is important context. That that
government funding in Ontario.
Well, government funding is also
a big context of why we are what we are.
Government funding, again, for our non-Canadian listeners, a huge portion of like even large movies, large feature films. And I was telling Clark about this yesterday. Are all there's massive government grants for a lot of arts stuff here, and so everything has like a bizarrely like cultural tinge that sort of sometimes feels very tacked on, but also has kind of found its way to just define what a lot of Canadian media is. Like
it's literally ordained as part of the funding by the Canada Arts Council. Like there has to be
it's a requirement.
Yeah, a certain number of points. So there'll be a point system of hitting certain cultural milestones, and it might be thematically, it might be based on the location.
Do you know any examples of this? Like we've gotten way off track here, but this is super interesting. I did because I want to make sure we hear the rest of your story, and I want to hear yours. But what are some examples of these points that a filmmaker might have to hit if they were to accept funding?
I mean, in the most basic form,
it's
like you need like Canadian cast, Canadian crew, things like that.
Okay,
those count towards it, which is pretty obvious.
Pretty straightforward, right?
But then you can
from
get
a
ones
content
for
perspective,
like cultural things, like if it includes.
Yeah, well, I mean, like what you're thinking of saying cast and crew, and that hits with like the '80s tax bracket era. How we brought Hollywood up here was saying every company could get a. Well, we don't do as much as we used to, and they don't get as much back as they used to. But at that time period, all the like middle to B movies that studios would make, as long as they had a certain amount of Canadian cast in that, they got tax deduction from it. But for our television shows, especially things like, shall we say, the mother channel CBC, that they do have to have a certain context about it, which I feel for like people on the West Coast, because it's really, when they want to name drop something, they have to be like, you have to reference something that's in Canada, some place or a historical person of it. And a lot of that ends at the East Coast.
Yeah.
So like the recognizable historical landmarks and the places, and in either Quebec or maybe a little bit in the prairies and stuff like that. So they're constantly name dropping these places. And if you live in BC, you're like, what about us? And they're like, yeah, well, modern history got there by the time people got there.
Yeah.
So it feels mainly because it's, they don't want to do it. They're just like, we have to do it. We have to randomly have a beaver show up in this scene of it. To other filmmakers, that means something else, but I mean the animal. And or like, randomly there's scenes of moose and that, and especially those PSAs we even have those PSAs that have the national, the what is it? Mike, you remember them? There's a Canadian
Hinterland Who's Who?
Well, there's that. Those are the animal ones.
Yeah.
But there's like the Great Canadian History Moments, which has the famous
heritage.
Heritage.
Which has the Doctor, I smell burnt toast.
Yeah.
Which has become like a meme
You've
now.
had a stroke.
It's this is a Canadian heritage moment. Anytime something horrible goes on.
I have a friend who worked for the company that produced all of those, and she gave me a promo DVD once of like all 45 of those that were ever made.
I've got that too.
And I had to hide it because every time people were over at my house and looking at my DVD shelf, someone would be like, oh my God, is this all the Heritage Minutes? We got to watch all of them. And I'm like, they're all online. It's like, yeah, but we can watch them all in a row now.
And because we were the bilingual country on that DVD, has other takes of the same one. So you'll have them where they're speaking French and doing the exact same skit. It's not dubbed. You could tell they're redoing it because they were like, oh, we hired bilingual actors for it because that also gave you extra points. You could get more government credit for it.
It's like Herzog's Nosferatu, how they shot it twice in a row.
Yep.
Yes,
they'll do that
Bringing
often.
it back to the origins of the podcast.
Rather than dubbing. Yeah, they'll just film each scene twice.
And that's doomed us with Bon Cop, Bad Cop 1 and 2.
Oh gosh, yeah. I remember my mother
though.
renting me that. That was like a VH or maybe it was DVD.
It's DVD,
but
it was more recent.
I was sick, home from school, and I watched Bon Cop, Bad Cop, and I think I was just like in a fever dream of not remembering anything about it. But then the second one came out, and I was like, I remember that. So-
It's almost good. The concept of let's make Lethal Weapon, but the difference between them is one cop's from Quebec. Like, okay.
I get really irked
But which
when,
one? Which Mel Gibson character or
yeah,
Danny Glover?
he's more the Mel Gibson character. The
Okay.
Quebec one's supposed to be
the
more
loose
the like
cannon.
Yeah,
He's
Yeah.
suicidal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one who doesn't. Yeah, they have the suit and tie kind of cop who's from Ontario, and the edgy one who smokes all the time.
Of course.
But neither of them are like charismatic enough to be either of those two, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
So our back, maybe back to our very long, story
We
around
took
there.
a
I mean,
little
I think
bit.
I was done. I was like,
Okay,
I
yeah.
like movies of all kinds.
Well, I think that was
just wanna ask,
important.
can I ask
Good.
one question?
I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
know we're
But,
in
no,
Toronto
we can-
here. Can I ask
yeah.
one question just before we get off of
For sure.
the Canadian version of Lethal Weapon? Like, how do you say "I'm too old for this shit" in Quebecois, or if I probably pronounced that wrong? But
It would
can
be
anybody
like,
do that here?
J'ai trop,
de merde.
I don't know, trop onze pour
I'm
du
really
shit.
disappointed,
I hope-
guys.
yeah,
that
I-
nobody
I
here
was
can do
supposed to
that.
have-
This
Yeah.
is so sad.
Yeah, nobody out.
We are not going to get government
Side
funding
Quebec
for this
No.
podcast.
to take French.
We
beyond,
fail.
I know.
Yeah.
I
when do we
actually-
get to stop taking French? Is it
Uh,
grade 9?
Grade nine, yeah.
4 to 9 is the required.
Yeah, so any
So-
American listening, the stereotype, and I see like bands coming up here all the time and seem to think like, hey, how do you say what in French? And it's like, we don't know.
Yeah.
I'll call my random French friend I have. Let's
Yes,
get him on the
I know how to say
People seem
all
to
of the
think we all
groceries
can.
in French because they're all the packaging is bilingual, but that's about where it stops. Like I can find
And
you granola.
I'll say Zoutaleur for forever because that's when the first time you're reading a kid's book and it said that must be a swear word. And I'm like, yeah, sort of.
yeah.
Erin here is who like works and helps out here with stuff all the time too. She's always pointing out when like the French title on a movie makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
versus so like Ghostbusters is out on 4K and like the American title is Ghostbusters. The Canadian title is Ghostbusters. The French Canadian title is SOS Phantoms! Exclamation mark.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that
I actually really love that.
the funniest thing about it too is that they're very like independent, so they don't use the like France translated title. They'll like translate their own special title.
Yeah, there'll be a case where a word is actually the same in English and French, and they still won't go for that word. They'll be like, we still have to give it.
It has
gotta
to
be
be
fully
unique. Like,
French.
it has
Yeah.
to be.
And there's no way that people in Montreal, any part of Quebec, don't say Ghostbusters.
No,
None of them say SOS Phantoms. They know what it is. They say it. In France, they say it.
I do have a thing where my friend from Texas, whenever she comes up, I always like to like pretend that we just have very specific, like, so I always tell her, we convinced her for a good 2 years that our Muppets here all have different names. So I was like, oh no, it's not Kermit, it's Green Dennis. And like,
Okay, wait. Okay, wait. As the only non-Canadian here, I need you to repeat this. Okay, wait, what?
So I
is this real?
convinced her that Green Dennis was Kermit.
Oh,
that
you
Madame,
convinced? Okay,
yeah, no,
you-
I was just
okay.
making all up.
Whoa,
Madame
because
Jeanette
you
was,
actually for about 5
I know.
seconds there, I was over here going, wait a minute.
I said that
Green
Madame
Dennis
Jeanette
here.
was Miss Piggy, that Grover was the trash man, and that Le Grand Oiseau, that's pretty self-explanatory, but
Where did you get Green
always
Dennis
old.
from?
I can't remember. I think I might have seen something about it online, and I was like, I wonder if I could convince Alexa that this is actually...
Miss Piggy would have to be more French. She'd be like,
Shout out
Croque
to Alexa.
Madame.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that.
Okay,
Um,
back on track though.
yes. Back to... okay, well, Adam, why don't we get your...
So
lexicon.
with the touching story of Mike with his parents showing him
Wait, I have to
films
wipe away a tear.
Yeah, that they could get on 16 millimeter. Before you said that, Mike, if I went first, I would have probably thrown you under the bus right away and said the difference between Mike and me is Mike actually really likes film as
Cinema.
cinema,
Yeah.
and I'm almost literally against it. But
This is interesting.
It's not really a problem with it.
And that's fine.
But my reason to show people stuff has always been a sort of sadistic thing. So my love of showing bad movies to B movies to weird movies, and people be like, oh, well, you have all these foreign films in there. Like, just because they're foreign does not mean that they're high art. I don't want to like pack a room of people and I'll put on this film. When I started doing stuff at the theater the micro theater that we're sitting in right now, I started to do them on a Tuesday every month and call it Terrible Tuesday. And I wouldn't tell people what the film was till about a day before. And then we made it, there was only $2. So if you paid $2 and you hated it, you wouldn't get angry.
You didn't feel ripped off.
Yeah. And it was basically so I could sit there and watch them watch the film. And I don't know if it's because people did that to me back in the day or what, but to make my story as a young man raised by parents showing them film, I was on the other end of the spectrum. Instead of finding film to watch on actual film, my parents were addicted to going to the video store. I was basically babysitted by the VCR, so much so that I have a memory of being like 6 years old, and my parents had bought me a copy of Critters 2 because I loved it so much, and I would go silent and watch it.
And wait, how old are you about
Like
at this
6.
time? I need to see that. Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's like
6-year-old.
6-year-old watching
front of
this
the
movie
TV.
that has nudity and a lot of violence and swearing in it, but done on a certain cartoon level. So as a kid, it didn't like register as anything like traumatic. But if you hadn't seen the film and you only knew of it, it would seem very wrong. So I have this memory of a babysitter demanding that I was lying by saying that I always watched this film, and took it away from me because I tried to put it in and watch it. And then my parents arguing with them afterwards going, no, we let them watch it all the time.
Critters 2 back to our son.
Yeah.
And normally it's the reverse. Like, why did you let our kid watch
Yes.
this?
But the babysitter thought I was lying. And so much so then thought that was upsetting and wouldn't babysit me.
Wow.
Which I think that might have stemmed the moment of like, oh, so that's what these films do to people.
This is what the power I have.
Yeah.
I wonder if they took home that copy of Critters 2 and like, still have it to this day.
On a PAL copy, as I were.
They've got it in
England for
like
about 5
the
years.
Annabelle case where it's like in their basement.
Oh yeah.
So so I'm super intrigued by this contrast. I am if I'm understanding, where you are more like you wouldn't call yourself a cinephile.
No, I probably wouldn't.
But Mike, you would.
I don't like that word. I think anything that ends with like file,
Okay.
I usually find very hoity-toity.
I don't want to get hung up on labels.
Yeah,
So let's move past that. But I mean, this idea that like, would you say that like you like cinema? Like we use this word that you're like you love cinema, whereas you're like more like these weird, wacky, like video store, like hidden gems, or you love watching people watch something that's like funky and weird and shocking, kind of like Things that Cullen took me to last night.
And I also like films where I can accidentally sort of pinpoint what the people are like in the film.
Okay.
Like I don't want it to have a sense of reality. I don't need that.
Yeah.
But and even if you get into like the quotes unquotes like classic artists in the world, there are great ones. Like the difference between early Scorsese and nowadays Scorsese, who's like, oh, I hate the sold out world of the theaters. You guys should only watch true art and not
Marvel.
Yeah, yeah, or whatever, like. But
that's me. That's me, by the way.
But then you could 2 weeks
and Cullen, don't hide. I've heard you say that too.
I'm hiding.
But if you take like early Scorsese, is interesting because it's like you can tell how this is a guy who's got to cut corners. He's got to get people together. He's got to make a friendship with the people he's doing this stuff with. And you'll get a couple of recognizable faces. And then when you start to become like this massive successful thing where you can see that this film is huge and epic, and then all of a sudden you're still hiring your friends into that, then all of a sudden I become really biased about it. I become, and it's not justified. I'm not saying that anyone else has to be like this. I'm not saying that it's, good or bad really, but you love this story of this bunch of like roots done backyard filming guys. It's just a bunch of their friends. They're coming up with this idea. They're just packing all the equipment in the car and they're going to where they got to go. It's sweating blood and tears to make this thing. Yeah. But then when the guy's got all the same huge budget from a studio, all this money to throw around. They're, lighting their cigars with $100 bills kind of thing. Yet they're still just the same bunch of buddies with it. All of a sudden, they just seem really not cool to me. It seems like, well, we're just keeping the money for ourselves now. And I'm like, that's not the point of having your buddies doing it. When it's your buddies doing it, you're doing it as sort of a rebellious thing. It's sort of a thing where we're going to go out and we're going to film this movie. We're going to get it done in the time period we want to get it done in, and we're going to do it the way we want it done, be that good or bad. That there's not going to be a board of guys that are going to tell us this is not a good idea. This is not going to sell. But then when these characters grow older and they advertise themselves as, we're still a bunch of lone rebels, says Leonardo DiCaprio as he's filming this movie that had 2,000 people on a board saying, no, you should tweak that every 1,000 times.
So it's like the punk band that was in the 70s, like playing to 5 people somewhere. And now they've they're playing like reunion tours for like Budweiser or something.
And especially like an older like punk or metal band that had songs like to be the metalhead that I am, to quote the infamous band Wasp that had a reunion tour. And my whole thing was like, oh, I can't wait till they do this one song where the whole point of that song is, I'm a young rebel and I'm never going to grow old. I'm going to burn out and die young. And I'm like, the dude is 60 years old and 300 pounds and he's sweating out singing that song saying, I will never die old. I'm going to burn out young. And I'm like, you missed that, buddy. It didn't happen.
At Toronto's historic Budweiser stage.
Yes.
Yeah. I was,
Soon to be Therm Spa.
Yeah. And that's where all of a sudden you have to become a little bit, if you're going to enjoy that, you have to enjoy it a little sadistically. You have to be like, okay, I love this. I love that guy is up there singing this song about, all right, Alice Cooper's out there singing a song called 18. And you're like, you don't remember what 18 was like, man. What are you doing singing this still? But I'll go and see that. It's entertaining to me, but not for the reason that it was back then. For like when it was sung with a passion. It was sung with like, I had this because I was a rebellious kid. I'm like, you don't remember that at all. It now sings like you're singing a cover of your own song.
Yeah. Like exactly as you're saying. I agree with everything, especially with Scorsese. Something like The Irishman feels like the laziest possible thing he could do for no real reason other than like Netflix pulling a dump truck of money up to him. Like I like the movies where he gets out of New York and gets out of his wheelhouse.
I can empathize with that a lot. I think that for me, when I see something, be it by as someone who's famous now or not, or something like half the movies we saw here at the screening in early September, there is really something besides technical prowess or like a mastery of an art form when it comes down to like you actually feel, I don't even know if passion is the right word, just more so just people having fun and enjoying what they're doing, and that sort of thing kind of exudes
less
out
bureaucracy,
of it.
less corporate overhead, less.
There is a shame
grouping.
too. I remember when I did my first feature, it was really refreshing after that to go back and do a short again, because you almost feel like you're less inclined to have to prove something. Like you can just kind of go back to this really low risk, simple. Like let's just go out for a day and find a cool location and shoot something dumb and have fun with it, right?
It's really an interesting lens to like look at movies and films through. And like a thought that I'm having right now as I hear you guys talking about this is that like, especially in Southern California or in Los Angeles, what I'm exposed to are, so many DIY filmmakers who, it is no budget. It is just your friends. And these people definitely have a passion for filmmaking. But what's interesting is that they want to be a part of the machine so desperately that before they even have all of this overhead of, having to answer to a studio or having to all of this baggage that comes right with accepting money from someone and being a part of this big machine and making a product, right? Before they even get anywhere near that space, they're already acting like they're in that space because they think that's the way to get there, right? So they're already making films that are under the constraints of all of that stuff, but without any of the money or the resources or anything else, right? So it is very interesting that it takes something even more than just being DIY and being small and being with your friends. It really is a state of mind that's more than all those things.
It's a concept when you mentioned the Colin, you mentioned the concept of having something to prove. There is an amazing passion when a director does go with a message and does have to do this because they do have something to prove. When there's a moment of being like, I have something to say, I want to scream it at you, I'm going to do this so I can, or this is, Stallone making Rocky. It's like I'm this dumb lug, but I'm going to make this movie that's going to make every studio love me. And then whatever he does after that, it becomes a completely different person or not, whatever. That's a different story. But the story of making Rocky is amazing. But on the other side of it, which, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the story, but my passion comes from those guys who do not have something to prove, who are out there. They're like, we just had this story, we had this idea, we're doing this for ourselves, and maybe luckily someone else will like it. To say, Clark, what you mentioned about how there's a lot of DIY filmmakers, but they're walking and talking like they are Hollywood because they're in LA or something like that. Yeah. We see it up here all the time.
Sure.
We're seeing it, I think, because Toronto is the Hollywood of the North. It's all the studios have places here. People know there's an in for it. And you find these guys who are like, we're making a weird monster movie out by the lake, but then we're going to show it at these festivals that might get us to the right people. I'm like, why are you doing that? Why would that matter?
Why is that even on your mind? Right?
Yeah. And you knew it was from the beginning. And I hate to judge people, but I've become biased during the time of doing Terrible Fest and doing other things here. And I think that might actually fuel me. It might fuel me to be like, oh, then I'm going to find the worst guy. Because if I find somebody, they're like, well, we did this cheesy on purpose monster movie, and I'm like, yeah, and I know like some kids who did one too, and they just stole their mom's camera. I'm gonna show that one instead.
Like the worst, most passionate is an amazingly interesting combination.
No, it really is. Tell us a little bit more about Terrible Fest, because I don't think we got into that any, but it's something that's new to me, obviously having just met you now. But tell us. I mean, I'm really interested in this concept.
Well, we do. When we started Terrible Fest 7 years ago, I actually it's because, and Mike has been in these, I've dragged him into it. I started making films here in the store. We started almost every year we make a no budget movie for the lulz that we can put on the shelf in the video store and we can screen in the back here. Started before we were even at this location.
And
Mike's
Adam does a masterful job, I should say, of like using this space in as many ways and angles as possible to make it look like, for example, like a massive asylum/science facility or something like that between like this room and different angles in the basement. So
I can't wait to see some of these.
That's in Rock and Roll Asylum. Is most recent.
They're all easily accessible.
Okay,
but within that, and finding that love of those type of films, I started to find, especially in the online community, being in Canada, it was a little difficult to get to a lot of the more open. A lot of the guys that I love in that genre are American, and they're usually like middle of America too. They're not from the far West Coast. They're not from New York,
like Milwaukee, or something
like that. Wisconsin's got a lot of great weirdos up there, and the weirdos come up with this stuff and they're passionate about it. They're showing it off like it's incredible, but they also know that it's not. So there is a passion and a humbleness at the same time of these guys. So I started to befriend a lot of these guys. We all became sort of online buddies. We'd meet up sometimes when we could. So the first couple of fests, I was like, oh, can I just show your film? It's an excuse for me to show it to people in Canada, because it would be a pain for them to drive up here, to fly up here for a small thing, because they weren't going to get it at a big festival. So why not do that? Then after a couple of years, we opened it up that people could send it into the same film freeway that every other festival uses, which led me to meeting a lot of young short filmmakers, which is actually why I first met Colin, because his work and a bunch of other local film people, I decided to just do one day that was just local first time and young filmmakers, just to show off their shorts and have them use this room for themselves. Those weren't exactly, and they weren't things that fit into Terrible Fest. Some of them were like, if I played this, people would realize that it was an independent, either a student or like a one-off filmmaker, and they might think that if I'm putting it on the list with Terrible Fest, I'm making fun of it. Because they're like, well, there's not an element of it that's funny. It's not about a guy who eats a giant block of butter and that's it, which will be showing at the next Terrible Fest. An English short film called Butterfingers. I'm loving it. It's very happy to show that one to people and see who gags when we watch it. you could not understand when someone decides, I'm going to passionately make a film about eating a block of butter, and they did. It's super cinematic too, which
Wow.
is so weird.
And I think that's so key, is that without irony,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because there, and I don't know, nobody's like used the word cynical or cynicism, but I feel like maybe part of what you are trying to move away from is this, whether it's like this corporate industrialized cynicism, like The Irishman, I think, where you're like, I've got a boatload of money and I'm kind of, remaking the same film over and over again. And it feels like this corporate kind of piece of product. And there's a lot of, that's like kind of cynicism, like, personified, right?
Yeah.
It almost feels like you're like, no, this isn't about irony. This isn't about making fun of these people. This is like a genuine celebration of passion, regardless of technical talent. These things were made by people who, it's like almost completely lacked a cynicism in a certain way, right?
Well, and there's this huge thing too with the so bad it's good genre. That's again, I would say very cynical
But it's
now
made
too.
honestly,
where it's,
is what I'm saying.
exactly,
These
where
are
like so many
honestly
of those
made.
movies are made intentionally bad, and it loses that charm.
Yeah, you
whereas
can't-
when you get something like someone passionately making a movie about a guy eating a block of butter,
Yeah.
like,
but it's like,
yeah.
but it's not like, oh, I'm gonna like make this thing and it's gonna be ironic and I'm gonna, it's gonna be goofy and weird, right? If I'm understanding, I mean,
there's
and
an
maybe
element
you
of
can do
saying-
that too.
No, there's
but-
an element of saying, yeah, I'm going to make it goofy and weird because
But there's an honesty even in
Right,
like,
absolutely,
and
there is.
maybe it's a hard thing to articulate or a fine line to kind of walk, and maybe we all know it when you see it. But it's like the difference between like, I'm going to purposely be weird and I'm going to purposely be
or provocative.
There's a manipulation there that's different, I think, than when it comes from a place of honesty.
But at the same point, the master of the exploitation film is a manipulation of people, and that's an art all on its own.
There is, but I mean, it's and I guess this is this is interesting.
You use the right word. It's a fine line. It's a fine line, and what makes it
Because
interesting
it's not
to search.
like cinema is a manipulation, period, right? Like this is like the pictures don't even move. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's all a manipulation, but there's like an honest manipulation, and there is a cynical kind of manipulation that maybe you can help me here articulate that where
no,
I'm
I think
failing.
you understand it
Yeah,
for sure. 'Cause
yeah.
You've seen this even in the stuff that I've shown and the stuff that you show on a regular basis. You know the difference between, well, you screened Fast and the Furious at the side of a Midas, so that it was at the side of a car.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Fast,
But
right,
how did I
Furious.
see that somewhere? So
I
Cullen
mentioned-
told
yeah,
me
yeah.
about this,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
must have seen it from Cullen posting it somewhere. But when he told me about your screening, I was like, I've heard about this somewhere. I saw a picture of this somewhere.
I was surprised at how viral that went.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
I'm serious, and I don't think it was through Cullen.
Yeah, I
I
can't
think
remember,
I
yeah.
seriously saw this posted in one of like the film kind of like groups that I belong to
There was this
somewhere. I saw it.
wonderful reporter from the LA Times just was walking along. She was here for TIFF.
Yeah,
And
I think this is where I saw
and
this.
She took a picture of it.
Yes.
And posted it.
Oh, I thought maybe she was one of your friends, but because I knew that
No,
I've
I
seen
just
that.
met her
Yeah,
at
I-
the
I-
viral
yes.
post of it, chatted with her quite a bit, and
You're famous now.
nah. It's fine. I don't strive to be. I mean,
Turn it into a big
I
studio
I
picture,
love doing these
three-picture
outdoor
deal.
pop-ups or like themed pop-ups like
Mhm.
that are really more for like me than anyone else.
Yeah.
And if I always say like whether like 50 people or 3 people show up to these like word of mouth screenings, at the end of the day it's just for me. And
Yeah.
it's the act of exhibition is something that I'm way more into than like I have no creative drive whatsoever. I am
Okay.
happy to like support and partake in like other people's
And you're
film projects,
fantastic
like
at that.
in Adam's,
so.
I want Adam to like put me in everything he ever makes
Yeah.
until the end of time. And like I always say, if I'm happy to be covered in blood or vomit or what have you.
Hopefully
But,
fake
yeah.
blood and vomit.
Whatever,
I
you know,
hope
whatever
like,
it
yes.
takes, right?
But I come to all this and like the Toronto scene purely as just someone who loves like everything of every conceivable genre, but also the act of like exhibition and watching things in spaces outside of the obvious. And unlike, I think it's kind of actually here's the dichotomy, because we were talking earlier about trying to find like what's the big difference between you and I. You were talking about how you like to like watch the audience and see how they're reacting. And when I'm watching something and I'm into the whole vibe of it, like not just the movie, but like the scenery and the setting and everything, like I turn into that like cinema paradiso, like hyper fixating mode where it's like just me and the movie magic. And as cheesy at AF as that sounds, I don't know if you're PG podcast or not. Yeah, at the end of the day, I just want to sort of, make fun off the beaten path experiences for like my own viewing and anyone who happens to walk by. And it delights me so greatly when like, maybe there'll be like a hodgepodge of friends and then a hodgepodge of complete randos will walk by and be like, this is amazing. Why are you doing this? What's going on?
I freaking love this.
Without a
love
doubt,
that.
Mike and I are both extreme ADHD, but on like opposite sides of the spectrum of it.
Literally, yes.
But it's definitely still there. So it's like, the same but different. But the reason I make that screening of all the ones that you've done, especially when you did your through the summer finding weird locations outdoors to do it, as much as you love that movie, the screening concept was great, but there's no way that there wasn't a certain level of sarcasm and cynicism going, haha, I'm playing Too Fast, Too Furious inside of a Midas workshop. They're like, at no point did you say, well, that's a genius thing to do. You didn't really think that.
Not
it was
at
like,
all.
this is funny.
It's fun.
And the reason that something like that, a post about that would go viral, no one was thinking, why didn't they do that when they released the film? Why didn't Vin Diesel do it at a place that only had diesel gas? And like nobody really thinks that that's really like a smart thing. But they can't deny that they find it entertaining, that it's funny. Yeah. So they do it. So I could never. I want to say that when I'm picking films to show to people, or especially at the festival, I'm more picky than and regular for me. But I'd like to say, I want to make people void of that cynical part of it. I want to find guys who aren't making a B movie that goes, we made a bad movie.
Right.
But that's not true, because I would love to say that most of the time I've done it, but I've found gold that is. It's rare. One of my favorites is a guy who made a film that's called Camp Death 3 in 2D. And like the whole guy, he even filmed it at the wrong shutter speed on purpose. So when he sent it to me, I'd seen a trailer and it's all sped up, and I was like, that's just the trailer. And he sent me the movie, and the movie is slightly like a microsecond too fast. And I thought, did something happen in the file transfer? He's like, no, that's supposed to be that.
Yeah.
And like the actors that he hired in that movie are all recognizable Canadian television actors. They're all people who after that, if not before that, were real actors. So they're owning this movie.
Yeah.
But the movie is the dumbest thing you've ever seen. In like 5 seconds, it already spoofs 10 movies, which if I saw someone else do that, I'd be banging my head on the table and just stop it.
Yeah.
And I think to a casual audience, if they walked in, especially because he made a secondary, like you can see that movie, something happened to that director and he kind of like separated himself from filming for a while right now. So he's a little incognito right now, but very enjoyable person. But he made 2 cuts of that film. He made one that you can see on all like the cheapy streaming places like Tubi. So you can find that movie. It's out there. But he didn't sell the movie to a major distributor, so you can't get like a Blu-ray of it anymore. You could get it from him and that was it. But if you are looking to test yourself to see the normal cut of Camp Death 2 in 3D. No, 3 in 2D. The joke is that it's not in 3D.
3 Camp 2 DES.
Yes. And it's got puppets. It's got a Jason ripoff. It's got your weird camp thing. It's got every South Park joke that happened in 10 seasons into like an hour and a half movie. But then he also made a 2.5-hour cut of the film. And he only put that on Amazon to like direct buy order with it, like
an MOD disc, not as a digital.
No, you could get a digital.
Okay,
so you can stream it from there, but it's one of those bits where you still have to, even if you have like Amazon Prime, you still got to pay another $2 or something like that. Because which is weird because he definitely has like a musical number in it where he does not pay the rights for that song, and it's not a cover of that song. The girl, the very beautiful daughter from, as Canadians, you guys will know Kim's Convenience.
Mm-hmm.
The daughter from that show, she plays a mental patient in that movie, and she's always listening to her headphones and humming to herself. And in the extreme cut of it, she does a full dance number alone in the forest to Maniac, and you find out that that's what she's listening to.
You mean like
And,
Maniac?
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Maniac.
And she does a dance number to it, like it reenacts like the scene from
Wow.
Flashdance, and that's not in the normal version because they just played the song.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Amazon's like, well, we weren't looking, so they
Yeah.
so that version can be found. It's out there.
Or it could be that Amazon has their own music licensing for stuff. So like merely
like
uploading it to
YouTube
their
does.
service.
I'd like to hope
it,
that's the reason,
covers
but I have
under-
a strange
'Cause
feeling.
I know
that maybe
YouTube
it's
sort of
not.
does that too. If you're
Yeah.
you're partnered on YouTube, you get
Yeah.
like
I hope we're not getting him in trouble by even just.
Well,
Oh.
at the same
the
point,
FBI is listening
yeah,
to this
he sort of
podcast.
left the whole scene. So I'm sure, like, all the worst they could do is take it off Amazon.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos, don't get mad.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Jeff.
Um,
But there's definitely a moment where he was like, I'm just making a dumb film. But somewhere along the lines, something happened while making it. And because he met and hired real people, then all of a sudden, I feel like they took over. And this film that is on paper the dumbest thing on the planet, at least for me, is pretty amazing. Then again, if a random person, especially the air quotes cinephile, was to watch that, they probably would bang their head on the table going, that's just as bad as Scary Movie 75 or like the not scary movies, the superhero movie or
Yeah,
epic
oh,
movies
the
and
t-
things
epic
like
rip-offs of
teen
those.
movie or
Have you ever
whatever,
had
yeah.
those sort of people show up and walk out of a Terrible Fest or Son of Terrible Fest
I
screening?
don't think I've ever really had anybody walk out from them, but I mean, and I will definitely throw in like one bad movie in the late part of it where I'm like, yeah, this is going to be for the people who have been drinking all night and they just want to like throw their cans at the screen. But luckily, and I think only of luck, that I haven't had anybody walk.
Because
walk
I
out.
would find that so interesting if I was like either an exhibitor or like a filmmaker. I'd want to know like what is the thing that drove people away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, again, we're in a small micro screening place. I grind into people what they're getting into when they're here. I tell people like, no, this place is not the Alamo. They're not going to like beat you up and steal your phone if you had your phone out. We would like you not to. We would like you to, not be talking all the way through the film.
It also has a basement, unlike the Alamo.
Yeah. But
With real bones.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
that's true.
You
They
will
were-
disappear down there if you take your phone out. So.
Uh-huh.
So let's all go party downstairs.
I
Hence
do
the
I do
bones.
always find the Alamo funny because they're so like they're the place that's always like if you take out your phone we're gonna like break it and nail
Wait,
down
really?
to a wall.
At the
There's
actual
but
tourist spot?
The irony of
Oh.
the Alamo Draft House, like the cinemas.
Oh.
The irony of those though is that
Okay.
you have people getting like served food the whole time too. So
Right.
I'm like,
Which is
why
a
do you care about
total
this guy next to
interruption.
me on the phone when like your server's coming up and being like, yeah, sorry, your credit card didn't go through.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
you're kind
And,
of
and I know with those guys with the Draft House, a lot of it is a shtick, but they have those. And I mean, a lot of the second run theaters and like things in Toronto, like the Review and the Royal, they play those same videos on there
Oh, yeah.
because it's become hip now to do it, saying if you talk, we'll send a sniper out there to shoot you, and like it's a joke.
well, then
I
you've
want
got
to
the
see like a
Kingsway.
Serbian film version of that. Like just make the PSA so extreme and creepy.
Well, there you go. The
Just like-
Kingsway has like the 10 minutes of like avant-garde, like that woman baking the cake
Oh,
or
I love
something, and
that
it's
thing.
the most bizarre, don't use your phone during the movie ever. But it's
I
like,
have a strange feeling,
That was
and
weird.
this is not deeply personal,
Yeah.
but I think at the Kingsway Theater, it has some weird history that would be the one place where they would smash your phone
Yes,
in front of you.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems like that might be the place, but
Um,
everyone else is elite. They mean it. They don't want you to be talking through it. However, for me, I'm a Mystery Science Theater raised kid. I was like,
ditto.
if you're not riffing on these movies, you don't care about it.
Yeah.
If this movie, these B movies that I'm playing, doesn't inspire you to at least say a couple of things, that means you're not paying attention to it. You've
Yeah.
gone to the bad movie boring level.
Yeah.
But granted, then you always still find that one bro guy who's like, oh, I heard this is the place where everybody makes fun of the film, and they've never been here. So he's the one guy who's just doing it all the time, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, Adam and I went to see the Neil Breen's newest film, Cave: The Tortured Crossing. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And remember that guy
Yeah.
left and right, even though Peter introduced the film as like, look, this is not MST3K. It's a packed house. Please don't be shouting stuff. You can cheer for stuff, laugh at stuff. No one needs to hear your funny quips. And there was that one guy who
Oh,
thought
no.
he was so funny,
yeah,
referencing like just dated normie movies from like 15 years ago. Here's an X-Men reference. Here's a Pennywise the Clown reference.
Definitely one of those guys who like couldn't not
Yeah.
say something because he even was saying just yes and no to things that happened in the film. Like he was just
Yeah,
agreeing with stuff. So I was like, I don't see this guy, but I can hear him in this theater.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that guy's not gonna stop no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
But the weird thing about that, someone not local sent me a video that he found on YouTube. It was like, oh, hey, this have you seen the new Neil Breen? Here's a video of people watching the trailers, and it's that guy filming. You could, because I can tell where we are in the theater, and it's
voice,
and it's and he's going yay and laughing and making comments to his phone as he's filming the credits. Because remember during the credits, we
everyone
all did like a
claps for the-
wave because
Yeah.
everybody
Every
clapped
time
every
Neil
time
Breen
it said Neil
appeared.
Breen's
Yeah,
name, and you can tell where we're just off to the side of that guy.
Oh, wow.
And he was only like 4 or 5 seats away, and I'm like, oh my god, he's made a viral video of himself at that theater. I'm like, oh no, because that's sort of my problem with a lot of the online reviewers of them. There's so many, as you said about the cliche so bad it's good. You get all these guys who are like, oh man, we watch this movie because it's so bad that it's good, yet they're still actually just crapping on it.
Yeah.
They're not like, if they needed to say that, then didn't they like it? But they're like, well, we won't get comments, we won't get reviews if we don't say negative things.
Yeah.
And so you get these guys who want to purposely start flame wars with these guys. And for the real, a lot of the guys who inspired me, who are the long running no name guys, the guys who started when they were teenagers and like the shot on video days, who are still doing it, like Mark Felonia, Todd Sheets, Chris Seaver, Ron Bonk, and those guys. Some of those guys have definitely sold out by going into, and they know I love them, but they've sold out by going into the purposefully, we're going to work for the streaming sites, so we're going to make a movie every 2 months. It's only going to be an hour long. We're going to do it as quickly as we can. We'll CGI in the things that we want because we need to get 5 of them out in a year to get those hits on these streaming sites so we can get paid for it. So they're just as cheap as they always were, but they lack any of the passion or the interest of it. But because they're making this quotes unquote garbage, that the reviewers go out and they say, oh, well, let's find out who these guys are and let's find their old stuff. And they make fun of their old stuff. They're like shot on Super 8 stuff they did when they were teenagers and make fun of them the same way they make fun of their 45-year-old aged version where they hired a bunch of teeny boppers to jump around and play on the beach for 5 minutes so they could get that footage in there. And it's not the same. It's the movies they made at their mom's farm on Super 8 as a slasher movie. Like, so all of them started that way. There is as bad as they are on the surface, there's a wonderful magic where you see, oh, this is like Todd Sheets is my favorite example of that. When Todd Sheets made movies as a teenager, all the credits have his liner notes in the credits where he's telling his teachers to go to hell, or he's telling like people he didn't like to go to hell. So you see this like, and those are not jokes. This was a problemed kid who was right on that like mid 90s. Like if he was a couple years younger, he would have been right on that like Columbine weird kick. He's lucky that he was an adult by the time that happened, because he was exactly that kid. So to watch his old stuff is like you're watching something slightly risky. It's not. They're still silly and dumb, but you're witnessing like someone's life happening here, even that he's making a monster movie. When he does it now, he's one of the better ones still to this day, but still, this is still a moment where like I feel bad for him because he'll make a movie about clown. He did a clown noir film where there were clowns and they were ghosts, and they were also, everyone spoke in the movie like it was a 1940s smoking gun, like private investigator movie for no reason. And so in his mind, he was like, this is brilliant. And the internet hated it. And the internet comments were the disgustingest things of like, if you make a film like this again, I will find you and kill you. And I was like,
oh my God.
And he doesn't understand that because he grew up as this wild VHS kid. So he sees this, and I've talked to him and he's like, I'm done. And then a year later, because he's addicted to it, he's not done. He's back. But the amount of times I've heard him quit because he's lived in the internet age and he's realized, oh, was I just making that to be stupid? And as soon as someone says yes, he's like, oh, well then I better stop. And what's amazing about those guys is it's in their blood, so they'll still
never
back.
stop.
So you'll see once in a while you'll see something gold again, but it's when they catch themselves being, oh, I was cynical. Oh, I was being sarcastic. Oh, I was being lazy about it. When sometimes it doesn't matter, because if you're posting that cheap stuff on the internet's going to tell you that you did it that way, no matter what you did.
Yeah.
So I try to hope the best and give a lot of them a chance. But yeah, you can't win all the time.
Yeah.
I had this weird experience happen at the Royal once, which was like the reverse of everything we're talking about with the new, like, you know, online cynicism, especially among like newer, younger people.
Everything's super
And this was
ironic. And all
so
that,
bizarre where it was shortly before COVID, before the theater closed, they were playing Fire in the Sky. You remember the D.B. Sweeney alien abduction movie?
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember the scene where Robert Patrick finds out that there's this town hall meeting that's being held about what to do with those abductees, and are they lying or are they not? And so he goes into the town hall and finds out that they're all talking about him, and he's like, "What are y'all doing? Come on!" And he starts doing the Jimmy Stewart thing of like, you know, Frank, my kids go to school with your kids. Larry, I've been buying your chicken feed.
My wife
for
baked you
15
an
years.
apple pie last week.
It's such a cliche trope, and everyone in the theater was like chuckling at that. And the Royals clientele was predominantly, this was like a really cool rep theater that I wish would still be a rep theater, but it's not quite that anymore. But the clientele was like, you know, like 30 to 40-ish. Yeah. And this guy was right in front of me, and that's why, you know, his like age stood out to me. He looked like just 19-year-old bro there with like, you know, two friends, and you could tell he was really perturbed by people chuckling at this scene. And he stood up and shouted at the whole crowd, "What are you all laughing at? I don't get it. I don't get it. What's so funny?
Wait.
He had his own
Please
Jimmy
tell
Stewart
me,
moment.
Please tell me he pointed to people in the theater and was like, we were in a movie together just last week and you didn't say a word.
I just bought popcorn right behind you, Martini.
Please tell me he did that.
Only.
No, that would have brought the
he
house.
was wildly gesturing with his hand, and I couldn't tell if it was just like, oh, you sweet summer child.
Yeah.
Like, is this your first experience of like a rep screening, or he's young enough that he didn't know what like tropes are. Like,
wow.
This has become a trope or a cliche.
Yeah.
Like the town hall sort of like.
But
the Simpsons, for Pete's sake, has done it like, you know.
Yeah.
But the
countless
passion
times.
To stand up.
I admire
in
it
the
in a
theater.
way.
I mean, I'm like, as bold as I would like to think that I might be in certain circumstances, I could never fathom doing that myself. I would not have the gumption to do something like that.
Know.
I couldn't fathom it.
I have never experienced anything like that. Usually it's the reverse, where one person, like we mentioned at the Neil Breen screen, is being kind of annoying. He wasn't that bad, but like, and everyone else kind of wants that person to be quiet. This was like someone not understanding why the entire rest of the theater is reacting the way they do. And
don't you see what's
his
playing on the screen?
But it might be.
Yeah, some people
This is
love
an
that.
important
Don't you people have a
movie.
heart? This man's.
This is cinema.
He's been abducted by aliens, for Pete's sake.
As much as I would laugh at that guy, again, that's the fun of cult cinema, and that movie is a cult movie because there's people who are like, you talk to a normie, I guess, as you want to call it, like and I deep down still consider myself that, but someone who just watches the pop culture films that are on there, and that's one of those movies that comes up where they're like, "Oh, people really didn't understand that when that happened," and my reaction is like, "Oh, shut up!" But but there are people who they love that and they believe that, so I'm great, good for them, because it's not that bad a movie, so why not? But I think an example to bring that cynicism into it, I did not. Did you go to the TIFF Harmony Korine screening?
No, I don't think I've ever seen a Harmony Korine theatrically, even though I like his.
I did not
do a Harmony movie on the podcast, by the way.
Oh yeah.
You've done one?
No,
we haven't.
need
Not
to.
yet.
This
You need
reminds
to.
me.
Oh,
This
you need to.
reminds me.
So his new film is mainly done is like joking on the video game to movie trope almost. Okay. It's done in heat vision and is done as a slightly mumblecore movie about an assassin, and a lot of times you're seeing through his vision.
Isn't it like all in like a faux infrared?
Right. It's like it's like
I've not seen it yet. I've not seen it.
Was it at TIFF?
It was at TIFF. It was the opener for if not the opener, it was like the steal away movie for Midnight Madness.
Peter was talking about it,
and
I didn't.
I did not go to it because just timing, and also when seeing that it was all going to be in like Predator vision, I was like, oh my god, if I sit through that whole thing, I'm going to be like dizzy probably. I'll wait till I can pause to go make a snack and come back. But years ago, I did go to the semi-secret TIFF screening during TIFF anyway, that he premiered Trash Humpers, which is his like most anti-movie ever. And Harmony basically makes a semi-real film that he seems to feel guilty, so he makes it like anti film movie right afterwards. Trash Humper is probably the worst of that. So I didn't know what the movie was. Someone came up to me in a park and gave me tickets for it. It was like Demons, where the guy comes up to the mall and says, take these tickets. And I was like, okay. So a bunch of us went. I got there 5 minutes late. So I did not see anyone intro it. It had already started as I came in. Only just started. And my joke to myself was, if it's not just people humping trash cans, I don't want this.
Oops.
And it literally was.
Yep.
and that's
some
happened.
skateboards.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And all sorts of weird stuff. So that movie would be amazing if you put it on a VHS tape and left it at someone's door and ran away.
Oh, yeah.
And they just found it and didn't know anything about it. But I made a joke in the middle of it. It was like, seems like Harmony Korine just lost his mind. And we didn't know that that's who it was. The movie was, and then everyone started leaving. Everyone thought this was some sort of beautiful TIFF film. So there were all these people dressed up for it.
Oh, wow.
Because they thought it was something special.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
would you think with that title?
Yeah.
And it was at like an off hidden away theater, like on the university campus.
Yeah, I mean,
So it
to be
wasn't at the
okay.
Lightbox.
No,
be-
because it was before the Lightbox existed.
I mean, to be fair, the title is
Trash
like
Humpers, yeah.
is an accurate. It's not false advertising.
Well, you
Yeah.
got these people who they put, and I wonder if it drives them crazy or not, but they put like John Waters on a pedestal, and and then I imagine he watches them watching his films, shaking his head, going, "Okay, fine, if you like it, you like it,
Yeah.
but why do you like it for that reason?" Waters also seems like a guy who doesn't bother to ask questions anymore. He's like, "It's fine, I accept that." But the film ended, and Harmony Korine came out, and he came out very well dressed, and he just very casually said, "So what do you guys think?" And like more than a third of the audience was gone,
Yeah.
which just caused me to bust out laughter just so loud as everyone's quiet and there's me laughing, and he goes, "Obviously that guy liked it," and I'm just losing it because I'm like, "Oh, it is." And I wanted to ask questions, but I couldn't. I was just like, I'm boggled that this
Yeah.
happened. And no one.
Like, how do you even ask questions about that movie? That movie is like unassailable.
Yeah,
It's like,
one or two people tried.
Yeah.
And it was, he's like, "Well, I don't know. What do you want?"
Yeah.
And because he's renownedly kind of a troublemaker and a troll
but
at that.
often a fantastic interview.
Oh, yeah. And because he was downplaying it on purpose because he knew you were already messed up.
Yeah.
What I have heard from people who were at the recent screening of the new one, which the name is not coming to me at the moment. It's like
The Heat Vision one?
Yeah, the Heat
Yeah.
Vision one. Yeah,
I
it's a
was
one-word
thinking about it
title.
literally last night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Whatever
it's
it is.
yeah. I'll remember once I actually see it.
Yeah.
So I can't judge this because I wasn't actually there. But people were like, "Oh, what was your experience at the Trash Humpers one? Explain that." And they said when he came out with a mask on, and but not like a COVID mask, like a Halloween mask,
Yeah.
and was like in really bright colors. And was like dancing around going, "Didn't you think that was funny? Didn't you think it was crazy?" And he knew it is because he knew that now he's too cool that people are going to lie to him.
Yes.
So the whole audience applauded and they were all like, "That's incredible. That's great." And he's like, "No, it's not."
I think he and Peter did like a dance at the beginning with like a skull on a stick or something.
And he came out being all wacky, and he was just like pointing at them, being like, "Come on, say something bad," because he knew they weren't going to. Because now they were like, "No, this is the sold out show. We all came to this. Nobody left this time because now
We're
he's
respectable.
yeah,
and
now he's this
Yeah.
respectable filmmaker, and they know, well, this is art. Obviously, it's art. And then he just hung out in an alleyway somewhere and listened when people were like leaving, going, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, good. I can still upset people."
Yes.
Or this concept that at a certain point you can make garbage, but you've become under the level.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I want to encourage Harmony Korine to always do that, but there is a wonderful thing that he'll be like, "Okay, I'm successful enough now. I can purposely make this to upset you," which feels like old Grindhouse thing. The things that guys like Tarantino and Eli Roth wish they were actually doing. And they're like, you can't do it anymore by doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now you have to make a movie that hurts people's eyes and you can't hear the dialogue on purpose.
Yeah. When you try and do it with the intention of making like a faux Grindhouse, and I'm not talking about like Robert Rodriguez's Grindhouse, because that's its own thing that is clearly just wearing itself on its sleeve. But when you try and make something that with that intention, it always
Like it
seems transparent.
You
and
try to be
obvious.
transgressive, but it doesn't.
It doesn't work.
But the fact that you have to be a legit weirdo to be able to do
I
that
think
stuff.
the
Yeah,
other thing
and I
too,
think that's the honesty that I was trying to talk about. Is that it really, whoever you are, whatever this thing is in you, the film, your work has to come from that.
Well,
Right?
I think it's one of those things too, where it's like I've never seen a in-person screening of like The Room, but I almost feel like it would have been way funnier and way more enjoyable to have seen that in its like first run when nobody knew what to expect, when people were just going to a movie
Yeah,
and walking
absolutely.
out on it, versus going
No
where people
question.
bring like what they bring like footballs and spoons and stuff now, because like
Yeah.
that's the
No,
big
it's a
thing.
Rocky Horror Picture
Where-
Show. kind of
exactly,
thing
like it's
now,
like
and
there's this, and sure, like people enjoy that. They're
That's fine
welcome
too.
to
It's
enjoy
but
that,
it's a
but
different thing.
I feel exactly like where there's this kind of expectation of like, no, we like it because it's like this. Whereas I can't imagine again being like someone like Korean where you're like, no, that's not what I'm going
yeah.
for. Like
Yeah,
I don't
and
want
you're
that
not-
audience to come and enjoy it. I want to go back to the roots of people having no idea what the hell they're seeing.
He
and-
was, I think he was hoping that people would walk out, but
Yeah.
but at the same point, the way it does become an honesty is only because it still wasn't done in an expectation by anybody else. It was done in a way that only Harmony Korine could
Yeah,
do it.
it's-
That movie
yes,
was as trolling and as upsetting to people, and only a way that he could do it. If someone else tried to do it later, it would obviously be like you're homaging, or just straight up ripping off.
Yeah.
But on that example of it. However, to connect back to how Mike and I are different and the same, which is a theme from a while ago. Not knowing this, Mike and I have a common friend, Mr. Connell Pendergrass. That's how you pronounce it.
Pendergast.
Pendergast.
Yeah.
There's not an R in there.
That's a great name.
Yeah. Connell is he still does film and to different
Yeah,
extents.
he's
He does
experimenting
animation
with
stuff.
different kinds of animation, and it really fits his own illustration style really well. Yeah,
He
but
was
had
actually
made,
acting in a Friends
and
B
he's-
movie
yeah, the
last
one in
summer too.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Was he at the Hundreds of Beaver screenings?
I believe he might have.
Okay.
Yes, I think he was.
Yeah, I think I met him there.
Yeah.
I met him there. Yeah.
Yeah, and he made two DIY features in 2000 and 2003, if I recall, called Flesh Freaks and Kill Them and Eat Them,
Yeah.
which a friend of ours has put out on his label already, Gold Ninja Video, but they're also about to come out through, I think, Saturn's Core,
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
that OCN partner label.
They
And so we both met him independently of each other.
right, and we had met each other, and then we realized we both knew Connell. And this same connection to bad movies comes up with how I first met Connell, and when I'd already known you for a little while, so it became even funnier to find out this way. But Connell and I were doing a commercial for the Royal. And
Was that the Shaun of the Dead?
The Shaun of the Dead
commercial?
things. The stuff
Or
for Edgar Wright.
That was for the Edgar Wright marathon.
So
Yeah.
Edgar Wright was playing a bunch of films at this one theater for a couple of weeks while Scott Pilgrim was being filmed, and we volunteered to make commercials for them each week that would play during the week at the theater, and then his night would show up. So Connell and I met with this group of film geeks, and I didn't know Connell from anybody. He was definitely stealing the scenes. He was like, this guy should be leading and doing more stuff. And then I had bought that one of the nights I showed up for one of the film shoots. I had just bought this compilation DVD set of like 50 bad movies. And I said, I bought this specifically for this movie called Suburban Sasquatch. It's the funniest thing on the planet. He's like, oh, the disc that it's on, what else is on that disc? And I was like, oh, it says this, this, and this. Did you watch the rest of them? No, I haven't. And since I didn't know him, I didn't read that as a loaded question. I didn't notice that the last movie on that disc was Kill 'Em and Eat 'Em. And then I put it on right after that, and it's his face, the first thing you see. And it's that classic, I'm right out of high school making a film. The first scene's going to be me on the phone talking to my other friend on the phone so we can just stand in front of cameras. It's either that one, and then I watched Flesh Freaks. And I can't remember which one of them has his vacation footage.
That's Flesh Freaks.
That's Flesh Freaks.
Yeah,
and he edited that in to be like, so it's like a 70s cannibal film because he went out to like.
Actually, you just did the thing that always irked him, where so many of their bad reviews would be people complaining about, oh, this guy edited all his vacation footage into it, but his dad is some really renowned archaeologist,
and
that was like
so good.
Yeah, on dig sites. Yeah, so he shot these Terrence Malick shots of birds in jungle.
And what to other people would have first seemed like that. And people make that joke, and I'm like, dude, it is basically that, but it wasn't made for his film, but he was there. He has ownership of the footage. It's his family filming it, but it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so he's like, well, why am I not doing this? I love the idea of making movies. So, but it's Kill 'Em and Eat 'Em that comes into play later on, as our other co-friends that we have done projects with. I dragged them into some of the first films we ever made through Riot at the Movies, which again became the project I always film in this theater here. But we'd filmed some about a guy who just wears a monkey mask, and he's a killer who may or may not be a monkey man. Simple stuff. And you weren't in that, but we were showing it off and talking about it. And then you had mentioned, oh yeah, I'm the guy wearing the blue paper mache monster mask in
Kill 'Em and
Eat 'Em.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, I've seen that like a dozen times
Yeah,
and had known you for like over a year already. But because you're wearing a mask and you're just, I'm the monster guy, because it was filmed like a decade before, I just didn't bother to read the credits, I guess.
Yeah, even if I didn't know Connell, I would love those movies because it shows so much of Toronto on film and how much it's changed since then. And like we talked about that in the commentary and Kill Them and Eat Them, about how there's like whole shots of that movie where it's just like bright skies and you can almost see the lake, and it's like that's all condos today.
Yeah.
Like it's all gone, and in just that like 15 plus years.
Or to go for a circle and connect it back to the tax bracket days when Hollywood started coming up here. Police Academy 1. Police Academy 1, when it's all its riot scenes, take place in Kensington Market.
Yes.
And Kensington Market has not changed at
Yes.
all.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The fact that there was a place, I think that closed, it was called Cheese Magic.
Yep.
And you see it in Police Academy, and that only closed down a couple of years ago. And I was like, now that one scene from Police Academy is not relevant anymore.
Outdated now.
Has anyone ever done a Police Academy locations tour? Like that should be us.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, people do Degrassi
Has
location
anyone ever
tours.
done a Police Academy 2?
Has anyone ever done a Police Academy 3 location tour? Let's repeat this joke 4 more times.
I'm pretty sure 4's done here too.
It's like a Greg Turkington.
I don't think Mission to Moscow was shot here. It was
No.
probably shot in Romania.
Yeah, it wasn't
my
in
gosh.
Moscow either. But there definitely has been videos online of people doing Short Circuit 2 locations.
Oh, okay.
Where they have to find all the parts of Short Circuit 2 that are, because those are all like just center of downtown. They didn't even bother to like spread out at all.
I remember my first ever actually moment as like a little kid was watching an episode of Muppet Babies where they superimposed Gonzo into riding around on Johnny Five for like a chunk. Because remember they were always using movie footage.
Yeah.
And you know, so you see Johnny Five going around Toronto and the world's biggest bookstore and whatnot. And then Gonzo mentions that they're in Detroit. And I remember being like aghast. Because I was so excited to see, as a little kid, when you see your own city and your own places on screen, it's recognizable.
Yeah.
More so when they're playing themselves, which Short Circuit 2, I don't think it's ever mentioned what city it is.
If anything, I think they're trying to say it's New York.
Yeah, I think they probably are.
'Cause
Yeah, it's just the big city.
Yeah.
Right? And I was just aghast. Like, Gonzo says Detroit. It's not Detroit. Detroit's not this pretty. Look, we have a tree.
Yeah.
I wonder if RoboCop had happened yet, and they were just
Maybe.
like, robots come from Detroit, right?
Yeah.
And then, ironically, the RoboCop show was shot here.
Yeah.
Also taking place in Detroit.
Both
Well, and
Both
the
shows, yeah.
the RoboCop remake was shot down the street from
Oh my
where I
God,
grew up.
it was.
Wow,
Actually.
yeah.
I mean, gosh, you're talking about RoboCop now. I was going to say, now that I'm spending some time here in Toronto, I don't really, you're reminding me of how many films were shot here.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, Cullen, I need that Police Academy tour while I'm here.
I
I've got
know,
a few
yeah,
days.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't think
We'll
you're going to
get a
get into
van.
the Royal Canadian
But-
Yacht Club, but it
That's
literally
part
has its
two.
own ferry. Like
All you
can-
need is a jacket, right?
That's the end of
Yeah.
part 2, though, isn't it?
That's 3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah, that's the first
But
one.
I
with,
all amalgamate all of them, you know,
yeah.
like the Burrows.
I did
I
once get invited to some like charity dinner
Oh,
for
really?
some work event at the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, and all I could think was like, "It's Police Academy 3." It's like final
Wow.
moment.
It
I'm like,
sounds so fancy.
This is where the
Yeah.
boat crashed into the thing, and there's where the.
I do. I think that I want to get briefly personal.
Okay.
Briefly,
Mhm.
because you mentioned a bit ago about the idea that like someone's making a like monster movie down by the lake, but they've got this idea of getting into a festival the whole time, and how that can kind of, you know, like I don't know.
Well, it puts your thinking in a box, like before you're ever in one. I mean that, right? Because you're trying to like guess what somebody wants.
Well, exactly. Well,
And create something that's like marketable, right? Or that how am I going to get this
Has an
distributed?
audience
How am I
and
going to
has-
get this
yeah.
accepted by the powers that be? I mean, that's at least what you see so many people who aren't really making the films because there's something inside of them that says I have to make this. They're making it because they're like, I want to get a job, or I want to, I want to get money for that next movie or the next movie. I want to be in the system.
Well, I
is
remember
what
when I did Daylight Again, which was my first feature. Like I, of course, had passion about it, and I liked the script and things like that. But that was my mistake. Was that like I look back on it now, and I see so much of that in it, and I don't really feel much for it because
What
of
do you
that.
see? What do you see in it?
I just see that it was that was my like you said,
That
I
you-
put
that
myself
was
into
your
a
goal.
box
Okay.
on the outset, and then
Okay.
I see things like I think something that inspires me greatly is Terry's movie Open Doom Crescendo, which is just so impeccably honest to what Terry wanted that to be, and that really inspired when
Yeah.
I did my second feature, which I'm still cutting together now. Like that, I basically made
What's your second feature?
it's Human Nature, so
Okay.
I don't know when it'll be done, but I basically made a pact with myself that I would not make a decision on that movie. I would not sit down and edit it unless there was some bit of inspiration to do so, and that like I had to get that inspiration from just anywhere, but I was not going to sit down and set myself a deadline and be like, well, I need to get in this festival, I need to get it like done for whatever down the road. I was just going to be completely honest, and a lot of that came from Terry, who is a filmmaker that lives in Montreal.
Terry Chu.
Terry Chu, who his second feature, Open Doom Crescendo, has been having like a road show over the past year or so. But again, like I think it goes back to kind of what we were talking about, where it's just so like you just feel how personal the movie is and how he just like it is all Terry.
That
It's
kind of is like what Adam was saying about Sylvester Stallone's journey making Rocky
exactly, yeah.
Like when I first saw Open Doom Crescendo and first met Terry at the Paradise last year when it premiered in Toronto, like he mentioned on stage, I hadn't even spoken to him yet, but he mentioned when during the introduction that it all started with him sort of writing a little manifesto, which is kind of the prelude to the film. And it's not particularly long. It's maybe like 15, 20 pages. And he said, you know, like, hit me up if you want a copy of it. And I found him in the lobby after and said, like, I'd love to read that.
Yeah, I got a copy
I love
too.
the film. I'll happily always read any back matter that or prelude material that is like meant to sort of tie into a film. And he was like, really, you want the link? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I read it, and it made the film that already seems so personal and such a journey for someone, for anyone, but let alone like Terry. It just made so much more sense and felt more personal reading the sort of genesis of it.
Yeah,
too. In
and
this
I
piece.
think that's what's really special about it as well, is just that, like, again, it goes through pretty much everything we've been talking about today, which is that it's like a movie that's over 3 hours, and you hear that, you're like, oh my goodness, this like low budget, no budget movie shot over 3 hours in like an empty quarry in Montreal. Like, how am I going to get through this? And then you have no trouble getting through it because it's just so like it's just so enticing. You have no idea where it's going. It keeps you like glued to the screen the whole time. It's like an audio visual experience. But I just wanted to bring that up and then throw that in there, just because I think like something like that is really what to me makes like cinema special. Like it's not about, you know, the gear, it's not about the like, oh, whether or not you went to film school or something like that. It's about being completely honest with yourself. Something like that'll be always way more interesting than
even if I didn't like Open Doom Crescendo, which I do. I've often said I'm actually pretty sure it's my favorite movie of 2022 that I saw theatrically. Even if I didn't like it, I would just so freaking respect what it's trying to do and how personal it feels.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Even if it was my bottom thing of the year, it would be my like top presentation of a film of the year. Yeah. Via like his MO behind it and the story behind what went into it.
Yeah.
But it is my favorite film of 2022.
There comes with and I also super love his first film, Mango Shake. So many people, when I try to sell them on that concept and they don't, they're like, I don't get it. Just explain that movie. Being what I refer to is, what if you made like a dark, irreverent Peanuts movie, that's
a great pitch. Actually, that's a great hook.
And they, without being dark, it is dark, but at no point is it ever negative, which is the most weirdest thing, that people can't do that, which comes in the concept of balance. Because if you want to be an artist, and Terry will say this because I know he, like myself, are people who I think are our own worst critics. Will be like, well, I want to be an artist, so I hate if I saw this thing I made and I saw the textbook and I didn't see me in it. I saw the textbook I read that taught me how to do this film, and that's what I saw my finished product instead of myself. However, luckily for guys like Terry, he does have a certain level of skill. So he can do something that's counterculture, that's counter cinema, that's purposely 3 hours long, that at one point in the middle of the film reminds you that it's 3 hours long and says too bad to you. And then you still appreciate it because even with no budget, no fancy bells and whistles, he still has a skill to make a movie. I said to myself, if I made one for 3 hours long, you would not want to get through that, because my shot on video punk rock thing of guy bumping into things on camera, I'll do it so many times on purpose that I'll then do it 2 more times to make it sound like I did it as a running gag.
I would sit through 3 hours of Rock and Roll Asylum. I'm just letting you know. But again, we're all our own
worst enemies.
Worst
Yeah,
critics.
and I know as I put myself
that
right in
movie was
position.
thoroughly enjoyable start to finish, and when it was done, it was like that was a feature length film. I thought that was like half an hour. It just zoomed by. Absolutely.
That's a luxury of having good friends, because you have good people to do stuff with you. You have an amazing song written by a cool guy that we know,
Jordan Joff,
who does the amazing no budget but hilarious Dinosaurs and Mining Facility, who is planning to someday make a sequel and has been showing me a lot of computer graphic skills for it. I'm like, wait, now you're too good. What's going to happen with that? How are you going to make this film that's actually good? Won't that take away the SOV's, like the kids making a movie by mistake charm from it? He's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out how to find something to challenge myself in the middle of this project to make that come out. So we'll see. But that's the wonder of finding these weird young guys, or amazingly finding Ed. By the way, Mike, you still have to find my DVD copy of Man with a Board with a Nail in It Man that I lent to you eons.
I haven't watched that yet. I'll watch it. I'll give it back.
Which is also 2 hours long.
Okay, it's in my like backlog pile, but I'll move it to the top.
Made by a guy from, I think he's more middle of the States now, but I think at that time he was out in California and had this dream, and he made this way too long comedic superhero movie, which is bad. But it's like a charming bad, because this is a guy who's so innocent about what he wants to do. And so to watch it is the reason why the world never got it. And it was made like 20 years ago. Then with no shame, just before COVID, he made a movie. His name is, which sounds fake, Chuck McGee of all things. And that's his real name. And he made a movie called Cocaine Snorting Crabs from Outer Space. And he's 25 years older than he was in the other film, and it's the funniest thing that I'd ever seen, but he didn't do anything with it. He just played it to some friends. We sent it into the festival just after COVID had kind of died off, and we were going to do another screening thing. But at that point, Cocaine Bear came out, and he's like, everyone's going to think I'm just making fun of that, because all these other guys who were the make a movie of the week to get on Tubi have made a Crocodile is coming out. We've got a Crackoon, which sadly was already a movie called that, but didn't stop them. We had Cocaine Shark is already out.
Crabs.
That's one. That's sort of straight out ripping Chuck off.
Great trailer though, Meth Crabs. I said, there's a company that releases these films as those ripoffs. They'll pay you for this. And he's like, well, I'm not one of those. And like, well, let me get them your number. Let them call you, and you call me back and tell me what you said after they offered you something for it. So he messaged me back. He goes, oh man, it was way better than I thought. They got the movie. I just gave it to them. But they released it to change it from Cocaine Snorting Crabs from Outer Space to just Cocaine Crabs from Outer Space. So the cover and the poster can be written in the same font as Cocaine Bear. And he's like, doesn't that just steal your soul? And he's like, that's amazing. Dude, the movie was made to be funny. And it was like, it was a joke. He goes, I wasn't going to do anything with it if you didn't find it. It didn't tell me to do it. And I'm like, well, that makes me so happy. And he's like, the fact that he got a payday out of it, he's like, well, I guess maybe I'll make another movie. So we'll see what Chuck McGee's next ridiculous thing will be in the next year. Incredible. Yeah. Wow.
So there's that level between, sometimes the two selling out and like, I made this as a fun thing for me. It's like, yeah, you also got to get paid sometimes too. Yeah. You also got to get the concept that if no one sees it, even if they don't like it, and that's why I've now sent mine that we just made for the theater see, but now I'm sending them out to the world. And our Amityville Outhouse, I had to like lick 100 stamps and send them all out and realize how expensive it was to mail things from Canada to the States, because only Americans seem to want to watch it. And we sent all those copies out, and I'm like, oh yeah, only half of them actually liked it after the fact, but half of them did like it, which that's a whole other thing. And it was just made for me and for the guys here. And the fact that happened, and I'm like, okay, no, then I have to. The next time I do it, I have to make it where I'm willing to. Before, when I did the first one, it was like, no, I'm not looking at 100 stamps. I'm not sending those out to you guys. Too bad. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I don't care if I made money out of it particularly, but the fact that you just don't know that those people would care. It's worth the chance.
People saw it and people liked it, and that's
Yeah, even if they didn't, the
Yeah.
fact that people saw it and talk about it, I was always hoping that I would have that, again, because I'm one of those kids that watched those same documentaries about, here's how all those horror guys from the 70s made these grungy films and got themselves, like, they all got pneumonia while out making this movie out in the bayou, and then they became real studio guys, and for a moment, that was a dream.
Mhm.
And then it was like, no, I don't care about any of that. I just want sometime before I die for somebody's book to say, and then I reviewed this piece of crap. I know that they still had to put it in there.
Yeah.
Red Letter Media did a thing about all these people that ripped off Amityville. And as they were listing through the IMDb's list of Amity things, halfway through it, they're like, wait a minute. I don't think these guys are ripping it off. I think they're all making fun of each other.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, and then they popped in and showed up the cover for Amityville Outhouse. And the one guy just said, I can't even make fun of this. He spun through it. This guy knows what he did. Shame on him. And he's like, he also knows we can't make fun of it because of what he did.
Yeah.
But then he said, it's just a low budget thing. He doesn't really care. And I'm like, dude, we're all low budget. All these ones are made for nothing.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
made for thousands. They're not made for millions. They're made for hundreds. And
If even.
that.
God.
Yeah. And nobody got paid.
You got $100?
yeah. I got $100 and then that cost me that to mail the things out.
Yeah.
So whatever. But I made Amityville Outhouse because a certain other B-movie guy in our network who lives out of California as well, he made 3 of them. And I hated them all so badly that one of my friends said, his films are just an Amityville Outhouse. And I said, hang on, give me a day. I'll write a script for that. And we just did it. But it was funny because it then became in that zeitgeist of the internet going, there's people who don't quite get it. They think, someone said, Hollywood is running out of ideas. I'm like, just because some of those are made at LA, they're not Hollywood.
No.
Yeah.
These are made by guys in their houses still. They're still in
Yeah.
their basements. They're still have to edit out when their mom comes and opens the door going, you guys finished filming down there? They're all cut. They don't get that there are these guys out there who are doing that. It's sad when you see some of those guys get a little jaded from it because they're like, well, where is that payday? And if it's not, I'm going to cut corners even more. But it's that dream being dingled over their heads that makes them do it.
Mhm.
Like the fact that they saw this documentary about how Sam Raimi went out and made the first Evil Dead, and they all think, well, that's how I have to do it. That's why they're all making horror films. That's why these guys are like, well, all the like golden stories about the backyard guys were all that genre. So they think that's how you do it still to this day. They don't get that. I think really the guys who are going to make a no budget film and go to a festival now, it's like a bunch of the guys in the same scene with me did that for a while. They sent their stuff to the festivals and they said, forget it.
The thing I love the most about your Amityville Outhouse feature is that it would be so easy and lazy just to like even churn out something already made and call it that as a joke of like, here's another one on the market. But the fact that it's actually intended to be in canon with the original films in house.
For 1 second. 1 second we connect.
Well, just the backstory that it's like the wood from the original house was, after it was destroyed, was used to build this outhouse that's in the Humber Trail here, which like harkens back to the Cursed Objects films, which were the Amityville like 4, 6, 7, 8, if I recall.
The Dollhouse.
Yeah, so like you could watch like that first trilogy and like the Cursed Objects trilogy and Amityville Outhouse, and they do form like a cohesive
canonical.
whole.
Right.
Yeah.
It's totally canon. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that's a good point though, is that like one thing that I was always thinking about was when I like you put something on YouTube and it's kind of like, well, I have that choice of do I put it online or do I chase it around to festivals for 2 years and spend money doing that and hope that, maybe somebody will see it somewhere and send me money for it. But at the same time, it's like, or I could put it online and there'll be 3,000 people that have seen it now that wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, you get this kind of like, obviously you're not going to make a ton of money. And like you said, there's a point where you need that payday, but also at the same time, who if people are seeing it, that's what I made it for.
There's this friend of ours, Christopher Brown, who made an awesome feature called Schizopolis 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's meant as a sequel to Soderbergh's Schizopolis.
Okay, yeah.
And he premiered
So
it
good.
here. It's incredible. And it's this meta film where he himself, in real life, is a Soderbergh super fan. He's his favorite screenwriter and director. He owns everything. So many books about Soderbergh. And it's him somehow like Berenstain shifting into a reality where he still has his house and family, but Steven Soderbergh became like a Hollywood hack and only directed like, Battleship and stuff like that. And he doesn't know what's happening. And then, that sort of butterfly effects into other things being wrong with that universe too. So he made the film, he played it here. And like, I love Letterboxd. I have like 3 different accounts I use for different means. And, I don't know if anyone knows how Letterboxd works, where there's this not Letterboxd affiliated site called the Movie DB, where it's kind of a wiki and
TMDB,
and so I created this like as authoritative as can be entry for Schizopolis 2, which then led to it being on Letterboxd and led to it getting some recognition and people looking it up. And then like Film Threat magazine found it and reviewed it and gave it this like quite good review. And I think it was because Film Threat reviewed it that some incredibly pedantic person, whether a Soderbergh superfan or whatnot, who had more sort of, I guess, whatever they call editor cachet on like TMDB, marked it for deletion and cited the reason as like fan films not allowed. Yeah. And I was like, is this a fan film? Like, are you just like angry that like you think someone's mocking Soderbergh? Are you trying to gatekeep Soderbergh?
Yeah.
Like,
if
what?
YouTube was going to let all the music that he stole on there for that, then why worry about that? I don't think Soderbergh would have cared.
Soderbergh just would not. Soderbergh would be like tickled. It is a love letter to him and his whole career.
Oh yeah.
And it's back on Letterboxd now, but unfortunately, like Chris had added some different means, and it means all the original reviews of it from people who were just finding a thing that he played here once and then put on YouTube.
Right.
All those reviews are gone, which is too bad.
Well, before we wrap up, should we announce perhaps about the Insidious screening here at so at the end of October 30th.
October 30th, Monday, October 30th on Devil's Night. Yeah, 2023 if you're listening to this in the future.
Yes, 2023. yeah. Don't come next year. Well, maybe we'll do something else. Yeah. But we're going to be showing
Insidious 3 and 4 at that point.
Yes. I've never seen those ones. So,
Mike Wood, Terry Chu, and I are going to be hosting a night of good scares. We're going to be doing a double feature of Insidious 1 and 2. Here at Eyesore in Toronto. So if you're local to Toronto, come on out. We'd love to see you there.
Yep. It will be spooktacular. I'm going to be decorating the place for Halloween. There's
4D interactive.
Yep. It's going to be not D-box but E-box seats.
We'll be going around shaking you.
Just like one grade down. Some costumes, other surprises,
and guy dressed as a ghost with a stick.
Just like the Charlie Brown ghost costume with all the holes in it, and just like poking you. The genesis for this was just Terry Chu being a super fan, probably the world's biggest fan of Insidious 2. Not even necessarily 1, but 2. I mean, he likes the whole franchise, but there's something about the structure of 2 that I've seen him speak to several times.
It's because it has a positive ending.
It does have a positive ending.
And Terry's a positive guy.
Really interesting structure. It basically Back to the Future 2's the first Insidious into something totally different. And I've always said first Insidious, that was like a perfect like modern haunted house tale. Insidious 2, I do have some plot issues with. There's one plot point I find very, very regressive, but as a whole, structurally, I hadn't seen it because I tend to not see a lot of like sequels these days. I tend to not see a lot of like just general Hollywood releases unless someone tells me this is interesting. Go check it out.
Sellouts, just watch your mainstream horror.
But Terry really pitched me on watching it. So the day after I met him, when I saw him talking more about Insidious 2 than about his own film Open Doom Crescendo.
Yeah, every
on
Q&A
stage
has
at
like
its
a good 30
theatrical
minute,
premiere. I was like, there's something to this. I'm gonna watch this tomorrow. And then I messaged him to say like, wow, that was really interesting. I have some issues, but also some like amazements about how that was structured. This is going to be like a long time coming. Is actually watching Insidious 1 and 2 with Terry Chu, who's coming to town from Montreal.
Terry Chu.
Terry Chu.
Electric Boogaloo?
Terry 1 and Terry 2.
Terry 1 and Terry 2, right.
Here at Eyesore Cinema in Toronto on Monday, October 30th, 2023.
And to be completely uncomplimental to that, that's the right word? I don't know. Complimentary? That we're going to clean up and get out of here because the people who are hosting tonight for Toronto Indie Horror Fest playing 2 films, but the one coming up next as we leave, which no one will see because this will be in the past at this point, and that's fine because we can make fun of it as it's as far away from mainstream American horror as possible with a German splatter film called Hillbilly Holocaust.
Excellent. Excellent.
So I mean, you've Go search the internet for that yourself, folks.
Is that the first time that title's been used? Because that
it feels
is
like
one of those brilliant titles. It sounds like there's been 7 films
I mean,
called that.
right. It feels like I've heard that. It's like something I feel like I've seen.
Yeah.
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 it's a German filmmakers and their first time trying to do something specifically for Americans. So they chose a title that sounded like anything like that.
Oh, it's great.
That could be very entertaining if it's like a German cast and crew and
it is,
everything, like trying to like play it American.
Yeah, because they're normally their stuff is specifically saying where they are in Germany, and I feel in this they're doing a lot of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff, but it's still they're very obvious aware that they're either half of them are speaking German and the other half are speaking only like contextually in English, and they don't, but they're still like, but I am the sheriff in this town, and like that they know what they're doing in it. That's all part of it.
Howdy, partner.
Which again will be a thing that will super alienate if your Halloween treat is watching The Conjuring, which again, a guy who is anti-cinema in a way, I'm still actually supportive of that kind of stuff, because if it works and you love it, who cares?
Yeah.
But then the fact is that for Halloween, I'm watching this weird German film. It's filmed by one guy on his VHS camera, and they just wore a bunch of rubber masks. So, whatever floats your boat, folks.
Exactly.
Whatever floats your boat.
Exactly.
On
All
that
right.
note,
Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank
and for,
both of you
yeah,
for
this was an
having us
absolute
on.
blast.
This was
Yeah,
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
This has been a lot of fun.
Alrighty.
And goodbye from the Eyesore Cinema screening room. It's very hot. Hottest October on Toronto's record. Bye-bye, everyone.